Hi everyone, it's Catherine with Colorado Yard Care, and today I wanted to talk about how you know when it's time to start mowing your lawn. You know, spring is such an exciting time in the landscape, and it's easy to get going on all sorts of different projects, but you need to take care of your lawn. So how do you know when it's the right time to start mowing? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Once those new grass blades reach 3 to 4 inches in height, it is time to start mowing. So let me show you what I mean. Let's go. I've got snow on the grass and you can't mow that. But once the snow is melted, you can really start to get going. So let's look at this grass here in a little bit closer detail. As you look at this grass, you kind of run your hand through it, you notice that you've got a mixture of brown grass blades and green grass blades. Now the brown blades are just simply last year's blades that have died back, and the green ones are this year's growth. So in the spring, the new blades grow up from the crown of the plant, which is way down here at soil level, and they push up through all the brown growth that made it over the winter. And this brown stuff is actually really important because it covers the soil and makes sure that the crown of the plants are protected from extreme weather. So it's good to leave your grass a little bit long over the fall and winter months. But as we move into spring, this new growth is really what we want to highlight. Now, you could see how if you rake this, typically with a rake, not with your fingers, that would be impractical to mow your whole entire lawn with your fingers. But look what comes out. All that old growth is just, it's releasing from the plant because it's no longer actively growing. It's not alive anymore. So if you want to come through your spring lawn and rake it just to get some of this off, and that might give your grass a little bit more of a green appearance. It's not necessary at all because these break down really quickly. It's just an optional thing that you might want to do just to cause your grass to look a little bit greener in the summer. All right, so when you're ready to check and see if it's time to start mowing your grass, you can come out with just a simple measuring tape and kind of see how tall those new green blades are. Now, most of these are about 2.5, well, they're about 2 inches tall, if you can look at that. So I don't have to mow right now, I can, but it's probably not going to do much good. But once the tips of these new green blades start getting up around 3 inches and past 3 inches, it is time to start mowing. The reason for that is because when you mow, you don't want to cut off a lot of the grass blade tips. So you don't want to let your grass get to be 5-6 inches tall and then mow it because that'll stress out your grass. And then it'll take a while for it to recover and continue to grow. So what you want to do instead is keep your grass nice and stress-free, and you do that by mowing frequently enough that you're not cutting off more than 1/3 of the grass blade. Now let's look here. We've got, one grass blade that is starting to get up around well, this one's about 3 inches. If you look at that tall one right there, it's about 3 inches tall. So we're getting close. This is where I'm going to start to say, I'm going to need to mow in a week or two, especially because we got this beautiful snow here that is adding all sorts of wonderful moisture to the soil. So the grass is going to green up when it has sufficient moisture and when the temperatures are warm enough to cause it to actively grow. So once we get these beautiful snows, it's got half of what it needs, and it just needs the warm temperatures, which will happen in Colorado spring weather more quickly than we think. So once I start to see my grass blades getting up around 2.5, 3 inches tall, that's where I'm going to say, okay, it's time for me to get my mower out, potentially sharpen the blade, make sure I've got gas on hand, and get ready to start mowing. So here's a trick that you can use to clean up your lawn one time in the spring. Now keep in mind that when you're mowing throughout the rest of the summer, you got to keep your mower on the highest setting possible so that you're cutting your grass at about 3 inches tall. By doing that, you allow that grass to grow deep, healthy roots that will keep it beautiful and green and thick and drought resistant. So what you can do is you can set your mower to the lowest setting just one time and go over that grass in the spring. It's probably best if your new blades are about 2 inches tall or shorter because you're going to be cutting that grass at about 1.5 inches or so tall. By doing that, what you do is you kind of cut off and remove all those old brown leaves that were protecting the soil over the winter. And by removing that, you just kind of take away that brown cast, and you give more space for those new blades to come up and grow. You don't need to get all of them off, but just by cutting them a little shorter, it can give your new spring lawn a green appearance. So let me show you now how to change the height of your mower so you can control how high you're mowing your grass. All right, so this is pretty much just a standard gas push mower. And let me show you, this is the thing right here that you use to control the height. All this thing does is it's got this like little notch that in this handle that holds the height of the front deck, front wheels in place. So if you push this out towards the wheel and then move it towards the front, then what's happening is that this whole deck is kind of dropping lower, closer to the soil. So let me show you that right there. And you can see on this particular model, if you push this towards the farthest setting forward, then the mower is going to be much closer to the ground. And of course, you always want to do this when the mower's off, right? That's kind of a no-brainer. All right, so we're at the lowest setting. You can use the lowest setting for your first mowing in the spring, only one time. And then right after that, adjust it back up to the highest setting for the rest of the growing season. So that's how you know when to start mowing your lawn in spring. The bottom line is don't wait. Don't let your grass get too long. If anything, err on the early side rather than the late side, and just enjoy the start of the mowing season because it will be with us here for a while. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.